Hello, friends. Oh, that's super sexy. And today, oh my gosh, okay, so raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have ever felt misunderstood when it comes to your relationship with food. Just raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have ever felt judged or if you feel like people just don't get you when it comes to your relationship with food. If you can relate to any of that stuff, then this training is so for you right now. And I can't wait to be here with you and diving in with you. So if you're just tuning in right now, I'm Debbie Lichter, founder of Freedom Embodied Academy. And this is like, I wish that I had someone sharing these nuggets with me when I was in the peak of my food obsession and addiction, because I felt so alone. I felt so misunderstood. I was so up in my head. And I was following a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today and didn't realize why I was getting stuck and feeling so frustrated. And so I really want you to listen up today. We're going to be going over 5 myths about food addiction that I'm going to bust so that you can get off of the pattern of trying to do these things and feeling frustrated, and you can transition into the things that are actually going to work to have you feel free of food obsession and food addiction. Because that's the thing, is that you can actually feel free of this stuff. And freedom doesn't just mean like, oh, I just lost the weight. Freedom is that internal feeling of being lighter. It's that, oh my gosh, I can be present. I can be present with you all. And I'm not all up in my head and, not in 5 other places and, holding myself back because of what you might be thinking of me. It's like being able to just be you and be comfortable in your own skin. And that is what I'm committed to here with you for today. Hey, Missy, I'm so glad that you tuned in. And so listen up, and I want you can take notes here, but I want you to be interactive here, because this is all about you really getting this and having an experience with this stuff. Okay, so you ready? We're gonna dive on in. So number one of the myths about food addiction that we're about to bust is that all food addicts are fat, and that all anorexics are emaciated. So here's the thing. This is so great, big, huge. I remember, like a year into, I think it was just like a year that I'd gotten free from my food addiction. I remember sitting in this huge meeting, and I started talking to this guy that was sitting next to me. And he had just gotten into recovery for his alcohol addiction, okay? And so we're chatting here, and he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm in recovery for my, alcohol stuff. And I said, oh yeah, I've just gotten free of my food addiction and everything. And he looks at me and he goes, well, you look good. It's working. And I was like infuriated inside. Why was I infuriated inside? Because I looked pretty much the same, give or take 5 or 10 pounds a year earlier, because my food addiction was deep down inside of me. And here's the thing, is that we have to stop assuming that the way people look on the outside, that we can tell what's going on the inside. We're going to talk in just a little bit about how sometimes being over healthy can actually be an addiction all its own. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But this is such a big, big thing to get, because not all people who are overweight are food addicts. Newsflash. And not all people who are not overweight are not food addicts. Even bigger newsflash. Hey, Jen, I'm so glad that you're here. Mwah. And the other side of it is that not everybody who's a bulimic or an anorexic is super emaciated skinny. I remember this was also a few years back. And I had this really, really dear friend. He was actually quite a mentor in my life. And he was this MMA fighter, okay? So he was this like mixed martial arts, buff, badass guy, okay? And we had this conversation one time, and he was like, Deb, I totally get the food obsession thing. I totally get he goes, look, how do you think I cut weight before a fight? I am in I'm in bulimia, I'm in anorexia, I'm in taking diuretics, I'm in sweating it out, I'm in complete obsession. It's like he was describing the epitome of what it means to have an eating disorder. He was describing that. And I'm like, here's this person. You would walk across, you would never ever peg this person as that. I've also spoken with so many people who have, who are overweight, who are obese, who are also, saying that they are, that they're bulimic and that they also starve themselves. Here's the thing, is that we just need to get that there is no comparing, and that our outsides are not a determinant of what's going on the inside. So, oh my gosh, yes, I'm so glad that you are tuning in. I am so glad whoever is tuning in live right now, because this stuff is so important and we make ourselves so wrong. And this is so, so needed. So that is number one that you really need to get, is that you cannot judge a book by its cover, and fat, thin, green, blue, it doesn't matter. It's all about what's going on inside, okay? So number two, this is, oh my gosh, this is such a big one. Okay, number two is this idea that food addicts are lazy, or that people who are overweight are lazy. Food addicts are lazy, people who are overweight are lazy, and that in order to, people just need to be educated on what healthy eating is. Have you ever heard this one? People seem to be educated. I can't stand, as somebody who's an expert in helping folks get free from food addiction, I can't tell you how many lay people I speak to who, immediately after I say what I say, they're like, oh yeah, and they start talking to me about the Cheetos and the Doritos and the this and the that and the fast food and everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you've clearly never heard of something called orthorexia. Which I completely had this going on in addition to everything else, right? Orthorexia, there's actually people, if there is a food addiction classification specifically for people who are obsessive about healthy eating. Did you know this? Obsessive about healthy eating. And I know some of you are listening to this right now. I know you know what I'm talking about. Here's what I know about food addicts. Here's what I know about my own experience with being a food addict, is that we are overqualified in the realm of nutrition and what to eat and what we can have and what we should have and what we shouldn't have. Now, we might be confused because of all the conflicting information out there, right? Should I be eating, should I be juicing? Should I be going keto? Should I be doing, I understand that, but it is, oh my gosh, it is not like, oh gosh, I didn't know Cheetos weren't a food group. Right? I mean, give it a break, right? What I experience more oftentimes than not is that people tell me, I eat mostly healthy. I just don't stop once I start. I just eat when I'm not hungry. I just find myself eating. I just default to food. I don't even know why. This is the stuff that is more of a eye-opener about that leads us down a path of okay, well, what's going on here? But this whole idea that, food addicts are just lazy and that they just need education about food is so far off. If you are agreeing with these first two things, that all food addicts are fat, or all anorexics or bulimics are emaciated, and that food addicts are just lazy and need education on food, if you are related, if you have heard these before, if you've heard these myths before, if you've believed these myths before and you're judging yourself for it, I want you to just put a hand raise or put a yes with an exclamation point in the comments so that I know that we're on the same page here, right? Hey, Patty, so glad that you're joining. Yes, absolutely. The obsession, the fad diets, and then the frustration, right? The frustration with, oh, I'm trying to be so good. I'm trying to stick to the plan, and then screw it. I deserve this. The box of chocolates. In my case, it was always a box. I couldn't just have a bar, and, or the bag of chips or whatever it is. I deserve this. This is the stuff, but it's not that we don't know. What I hear from food addicts more than anything is, I know what to do, but I am just not doing it. I know what to do. I have a bookshelf lined with nutrition titles. I have a self-help section on my own personal bookshelf. It's not that I don't have information. And this is why information is not the solution to freedom, because we can have so much information, but there's still something that's blocking us. Okay, so that is number one. And number two, we on a good roll so far? Are you with me? You with me? Okay. So number three, oh my God, I heard this one the other day. You know, I got invited to go do a talk in a different state, and it was this big women's conference, big women's empowerment conference, and you know, I'm close with the person who puts this conference on, and you know, I feel like she gets my plight. She gets it. She's into women's empowerment, all this kind of stuff, and she said, well, we really, really have to help the young girls. We've got to get the young girls, you know, past this stuff. And I said, well, hang on a second. Do you think food addictions and eating disorders are just something that young girls struggle with? And she's like, well, don't people just outgrow it? I'm like, okay, hang on. We've got a whole big old conversation to have right now. So here's the truth, is that eating disorders are not a young white teen girl's issue, okay? That might be a segment of the population that presents a lot, that gets a lot of attention when it comes to, you know, treatment centers and things like that. But oh my gosh, like people of every single race, color, religion, size, shape, you know, sexual orientation, gender, like, have eating disorders and food addictions. Let's just get something super, super straight. And most of the people that I'm talking to all day long are over the age of 40. That's not to say that I don't talk to people under the age of 40, but oh my gosh, like, we need to stop being so biased in our minds. And this is all a part of some of the stuff that has, if you struggle with food obsession or addiction, has us feeling so wrong and so misunderstood and so invalidated, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. We're going to talk about that invalidation a little bit more in a little bit here. But this is some of the stuff, is that many of us are like, I should have outgrown this. Or here's another one. Maybe as a younger person, you did exhibit with certain patterns. Maybe you exhibited with anorexia, and maybe you're not exhibiting with that anymore. And so you've told yourself, I fixed that. I don't do that anymore. And yet you're over here obsessing about food. You're over here being orthorexic. You're over here eating when you're not hungry. You're not stopping when you're full, or using food in a way other than fuel and nourishment. And you're like, but I'm better, but I'm not all the way better. Maybe I'm never going to be better. Maybe I'm never going to be free. Maybe this is just the best that it's going to get. Maybe this is just how it is. I don't know. No one ever told me, because apparently this was something that I had when I was younger and I don't have it anymore. So it becomes so confusing. This is the stuff that is so important for us to be talking about here. So if you are somebody who struggled with anorexia or bulimia earlier on in your life, or binge eating disorder earlier on in your life, and now you've got some kind of fixation, obsession, addiction with food that you're not even entirely sure about, but it's going on now, first of all, you're not weird, okay? You probably just addressed some aspects, and you have another level of freedom that's available for you right now. And if you're ready for that new level of freedom, like, reach out. Reach out. If you're like, oh, I can actually be free of the obsession. I can actually not have that constant, thing of like, am I, what should I have, and what can I have, and what can't I have, and am I being good, and am I eating too much, or am I not eating enough? And, you can get free of all that stuff. And so please reach out if you want freedom from that. I would be honored if you resonate with what I share. I would be honored to support you around that. You can always reach out to me. You can always set up some time with me if you just go to freefromfood.today and just grab some time on my calendar. I would be super, super honored to connect with you. But I think that the most important thing that I want you to get is that you're not weird, you're not alone, you totally belong. And that, I talk to people in their 70s who are struggling with their relationship with food. There is no expiration date on having a problem with this stuff. And yet at any age, I've worked with women who are retired who have gotten free of their food obsession and addiction. So that whole idea of you can't teach an old dog new tricks, that doesn't apply either. Sorry, we don't get off that easy. You actually can get free. Okay, so let's get into number 4. So number 4, this is like, okay, I know I'm saying this to all of them, but this is like a really, really big one. So first of all, if you have ever believed any of 1, 2, or 3, if you've ever believed any of the first 3, or you've heard the first 3, or you have felt like misunderstood because of those first 3 themes, then just put misunderstood ! In the comments so that I know that you are with me on this stuff, and we're going to get into number 4. So number 4 is that clean eating fixes food addiction. That clean eating fixes food addiction. This is so big. This is so big, because when you believe that your food is going to fix the food problem, it's coming from a place of not fully understanding what it means to have an addiction. So I want to just break it down for you right now so that we can all be on the same page. This is my understanding of what it means to have an addiction based off of having multiple addictions, getting free of multiple addictions, and working with people for a decade around getting free from their addictions, seeing the common themes, and then realizing, gosh, addiction is anything that we do that to distract or numb ourselves from an underlying discomfort or dis-ease that when we try to stop doing, find that we can't. And so food addiction is when we go to food to distract or numb ourselves from an underlying discomfort or dis-ease that when we try to stop doing, fix, moderate, like be perfect with our food or stick to the plan, whenever we try to, we find that we can't, okay? This is super duper important, because what we are saying here is that there is an underlying source of discomfort and dis-ease that is driving us to seek a sense of ease and comfort external to ourselves, and oftentimes we're reaching for food. We might also reach for other things like attention or social media or shopping or spending or TV, Netflix, alcohol, smoking, whatever it is. We might reach for other things for a sense of ease and comfort. Today's topic, we're talking about food addiction, so we're going to reel it in and talk specifically about that. But here's the thing, is that if you are working on the surface level trying to manage and fix your food problem by managing and fixing your food, then you're not addressing that underlying discomfort and dis-ease. And so that's still going to be there. And so if you're trying to be good with the food and you're trying to keep it under control with the food over here, that underlying discomfort or dis-ease is just going to pop up in a different area. It's going to pop up. You're going to go all crazy about work or about busyness or about fixing yourself, about fixing the relationship, right? Or you're going to act out in some other kind of way because that need for a sense of ease and comfort needs to express itself in a way. And so the ultimate way to actually get free of the food problem, the food obsession, the food addiction is to address that underlying discomfort and dis-ease. Makes sense, right? Makes sense. Here's the thing, is that if you have had a challenge with something, let's say a challenge with sugar, and then you made a decision, I'm going to go off sugar. And then you just made that decision and never looked back. I have a colleague who had that happen, where one day in 2002, he just said, I'm going to go off sugar today. And he literally went off sugar that day and never looked back. Now, here's what we would describe as someone, this is not a food addiction, okay? This is maybe exhibiting, maybe he could eat sugar with the best of them. But if you can make a decision and never look back, then it wasn't a food addiction in the first place. It's the equivalent of being like a hard drinker but not a real alcoholic. Like if you were a real food addict, then you would make a million decisions that you're going to go off sugar. But then a day and a time would come and you'd be like, well, I kind of deserve it. Well, maybe just a little bit. I've been so good. I put off, I put it off for so long. You know what? I think I can go ahead and have a little bit. I think I'm better now. I don't think I'm going to go the path. That's what happens in the mind of somebody who's got a food addiction or obsession, okay? So it's very, very different. So again, number 4 is that if you are trying to fix your food problem by focusing on what to eat, what you can have, what you can't have, sticking to the plan. Deb, should I be eating this, or should I eat that, or should I cut the carbs, or should I increase the fat, or should I eat the vegetables, or should I go vegan? And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care, because it's not that healthy eating isn't a part of having freedom in your relationship with food. I have been guided internally to eat. I love the food that I eat. It's super nourishing, it's super fueling, and I'm not obsessed about it. But here's the thing, is that it didn't come by me figuring out the perfect diet plan. It came from me getting free from those things that were blocking me at a deeper level, coming to an internal place of ease and comfort, so that it completely eliminated the need to reach for an external source of ease and comfort. And that is how the food problem and all the other addictions fell away. Again, this is the stuff, this is why I am so passionate to get on my soapbox and to share with you what it really truly takes, so that you can stop making yourself wrong, stop feeling guilty, stop trying to fix your problem with a solution that works for somebody else who doesn't have the problem that you might have. And align yourself with the resources and the help that can actually guide you on a path of true freedom, true, real, lasting freedom, because that is what I experience. That is what I show other people how to do. And if that is calling to you, then I would love to support you in that way too. So again, if you want to do that, there's a link in the comments, freefromfood.today. You can absolutely do that, and we can connect together, and I can help you with your next steps to having all of that. I want to get into number 5, because this is something that I hear across the board, and I feel this is something that like it swallowed me for years. It just swallowed me for years. So here is number 5. Number 5 is this idea that if the outside opinion, if the opinion of others is that you are not super fat, or that you're not too thin, then you don't really have a problem. Like, that you don't really have a problem with food, and you need to kind of get over it. Here's the thing. It's similar to number 1, but it's not the same thing, and here's why. I'm not talking about how all food addicts are fat. I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about this myth that other people perceiving you as not having a problem means that you don't have a problem, or that you're not justified in having a problem. This is the biggest mind mess in the world. Because it's not like you're real proud of having this relationship with food. It's not like you're going around being like, this is super sexy. I can't control what I put in my own mouth. I start to eat and I can't stop. I'm not even hungry and I eat. Once I have one bite of something, I want the whole thing. We're not proud of that, right? Oftentimes we're trying to hide that. We're insecure about it. We're embarrassed about it. And yet we still have this like discomfort around food and other people. And, if you've ever had that, like, I don't want to eat around other people because I'm just uncomfortable with it, and I'd rather eat by myself, and all this kind of stuff. The biggest mind mess is when other people say, oh, give it a break. You're fine. Go ahead and just eat that. Live a little. Why can't you just stop? Just have one. You're fine. When other people minimize your problem, it's the biggest mind mess of them all, because you feel guilty and invalidated for even having the problem in the first place. And so then you're trying to validate or explain that you have this problem, but you don't even want to have it. So then the shame and embarrassment that you have to even explain yourself is there, and all it does is create all these layers of like that internal discomfort and dis-ease, yeah, this is one of the things that can create that internal discomfort and dis-ease. You feel invalidated, you feel misunderstood, you feel ashamed, you feel embarrassed, you feel like, you know, shut down, and yet you still have the problem, right? But then you're making yourself wrong for having the problem. You're not seeking the support that's gonna help you get free from it, because you're not supposed to have the problem. And so it's just keeps us in our mind churning and churning, and it's like it's a prison up there. If you know what I'm talking about with this one, if you know what I'm talking about with number 5, hey Judy, so glad that you're here. Yes, 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 yes. And Catherine, and Mira, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, and Diana, hi Diana, oh, good to see you. So beautiful. So here's the thing, if you relate to number 5, if you know what I'm talking about with number 5, please put 5 in the comments, because this was so, like, growing up, this was the biggest thing for me in my family, and then in relationships, and then with friends, going out to eat. And it's such a mind mess. It really is the biggest mind mess. And so again, your struggle, your challenge, your obsession with food, it doesn't matter how other people perceive it or what they think about it. They're not going to understand it. They're not going to understand it. And so this is why it is so critical to get around other people who get you, who you can be real with, who aren't trying to fix your problem, who aren't uncomfortable when you say, oh yeah, I've totally thrown something away in the trash, and then gone out of the trash and actually picked it up and eaten it. I have gotten a whole pizza and finished the whole thing by myself. I've polished off an entire rotisserie chicken by myself. Like people who can be like, I get it. I totally get it. I know it sounds weird, but I totally get it. Like, there's something about being heard and gotten around this stuff and not being fixed or changed, and then really getting that support, that mentorship, so that you can actually get free from it, from someone who gets it, who has been there, who's like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Let me show you how. This is vital. This is so vital, because regardless of what you weigh, regardless of how much nutrition information you have, regardless of your age, regardless of what other people think, regardless of what your current eating habits are, you could still, with all of that stuff, you could still have a food obsession or addiction. It could still be running you on the inside. And when I speak with women, I tend to speak with a lot of women. I speak with men as well. I speak with a lot of women. And folks, your lives are pretty good from the outside. It's like for the most part, you've got lots to be grateful for. And yet when it comes to this area is creating such an energetic snag for you that it is tainting the rest of your life. And it is causing you to hide and hold back and not feel like you're really living. So if you are relating to this stuff, then oh my gosh, first of all, you can just say, I relate, ! In the comments. And please, if you and I are not already connected, if we have not had a conversation, if I haven't had an opportunity to speak with you one-on-one and help you get on your path of freedom, so that you can get free of all this stuff, and that you can be one of those people that says, oh, no, you're a little bit mistaken. This is what it means to have a food addiction. Oh, no, you're a little bit mistaken. You can actually stand in your truth. You can feel empowered, and you can be on the other side of the challenge. If that's what you want, reach out to me. I would love to support you. And I hope that this training, that this video today provided lots and lots of value. If you feel like this can be supportive to other people who maybe weren't able to tune in live today, please share this training. Share it. Put it on your Facebook profile, put it on your Insta, put it out there and let other people know, because I can guarantee you that there are millions and millions of people out there in the world that are living and feeling guilty because they are believing these myths and making themselves wrong and staying stuck and feeling alone. So please shine your light, share this as a gift with others, and I will connect more with you next time. Bye for now. Mwah.